Gene, we've seen a pattern. I do see a pattern among these incumbents. I was talking to Terry Madonna up in Pennsylvania today. He does the polling for Franklin and Marshall up there, that great poll he does, the Keystone. He says he's got a poll coming out Wednesday. I can't give away his numbers, but he said what he's hearing volunteered, when they get volunteered comments, people say we need fresh blood. We need new blood. Specter's been around for half a century. He's in the same situation or worse. And by the way, here, for your benefit, here's the latest Pennsylvania tracking poll from Muhlenberg. It shows Sestak up by 5, and he's getting close to 50%. Sestak out of nowhere, even after that blistering attack by Arlen. What do you think, Gene, about this situation? Too old, too long, too Republican? Is that his problem?
Chris, I think you're surely right that the fact that Arlen has been around for so long and is so familiar has got to be playing a role in this. And there is an anti-incumbent, bringing some new blood kind of attitude out there. I just wonder, in terms of the Pennsylvania race, if it also doesn't have something to do with the fact that Arlen Specter is new to being a Democrat, and how much loyalty are Democratic primary voters supposed to have toward a guy who was a Republican all those years? And I think that helps provide an opening for Sestak.
Chris, Howard, when you're in a warfare situation in the South Pacific fighting the other side, the Japanese, for example, and one of their guys gets overboard, you go fish him out of the water. You'll fish him out of the water if you'll accept being a prisoner, but you're not going to let him become captain of the ship. Right?
Yeah,
Arlen
right.
says, let me aboard, and anybody gets in my way is no good. Terry told me today, the one thing people don't like is he's dared to attack another Democrat when he's just brand new Democrat.
Yes.
He comes aboard and says, this guy Sestak's no good. The old negative ads of Arlen Specter don't work in this context, apparently.
Okay, well, also in this context, Chris, the negative ads which reek of what has become traditional politics as usual, that doesn't help Arlen Specter. I think the harsh attack that he leveled on Sestak has backfired. I thought it was going to backfire. I told you last week I thought Sestak had a really good shot here. When Arlen went after Sestak's military record, he's got an answer for his whole 30 years in the Navy, etc. It just reeked of old-style politics. It reeked of nasty gutter fighting. It allowed Sestak to take the high road. Sestak put on an ad with veterans out there defending Sestak. I thought it was a disaster for Specter, and if Specter goes down, that will be the move that really put him out for good, because it reeked of old-style politics in a year when people want new-style politics. They want nothing that reeks of the way business is conducted as usual.
And a pollster told me today that what that ad did, Arlen attacked him for his military record, and what he did was tell people in the state who never really heard of Sestak, hey, the guy spent 31 years in the Navy, ended up an admiral. They didn't know that before.
Right.
And here's Specter, by the way, 2 weeks ago, on why he voted against Elena Kagan for Solicitor General. She's obviously now up for the court. Let's listen.
I voted against her because she wouldn't answer specific questions on what kind of cases she would urge the Supreme Court to take. I'll take a fresh look at her as a Supreme Court nominee, but I think that the Judiciary Committee members who've been, myself included, haven't been, frankly, tough enough on insisting on some answers.
I voted against her before I voted for her. Gene?
Yeah, I bet that's going to turn around, Chris, and I think he's going to find a lot to like about Elena Kagan in the coming days and weeks, and maybe
why would you think
that those answers weren't so vague after all.
Gene, why would you think that? Why do you think he would come around and like President Obama's court pick at this point in his career?
I do think he's running for the Democratic nomination, and I do think he wants to continue being a senator as a Democrat, and I think he feels that it would be detrimental to that.
I think you're right. I think let's figure this one out.
If he were to oppose her.
Well, here's Arizona, the last one on our pick here. Pollster.com has McCain still leading by double digits, but he's trending downward. Howard, here it looks like this race by August, when they have that primary, Pennsylvania's next Tuesday, by August, if you follow the trend lines, who knows except J.D. Hayworth is no Joe Sestak.
Yes, and I know Joe Sestak. No, I think JD's engaging guy. He's a quirky guy. I don't know what'll happen by then. That's a month is a couple months is a lifetime out there. But the trend you're looking at here, Chris, is you got a lot of senior guys. You've got, to connect the dots here, you got Bennett, who just came off as a guy who'd been around a long, long time. You have Arlen Specter, who's coming off as a guy who's been around a long, long time. And if you connect that dot out to Arizona, that puts John McCain on the spot. There's no question about it. Okay. In Kentucky, which we've got coming up next week, it's a little different situation, but there I think the Tea Party candidate could win the